Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Tea Drunk. I am your host, David Way, Flavid Way, Flavor Way, Slavid Way, as we did this last week. We now have Shannon again here by my side. Today we're drinking Da Hong Pao Big Red Robe, or what I like to call Pimp Cake. It's a really, really fine tea from Louis. It's fresh from the season. Just got it sent in from the Phoenix Mountains. And I am excited to share. It's Monkey Moon, can you tell? Shannon hit me up on double monkey day.
Having fun? Oh yeah. Oh my God. This is so good. Yeah.
Okay, tell me about myself.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was thinking that it's in alignment with the general theme of Monkey. It's Upside Down Day. So you tell me about yourself.
Wow.
We're usually going to switch roles here. I should be sitting there pouring tea, and we should both be doing this.
How's it going? Enough about me talking about me. Let's you talking about me. No, you want me talking about me?
It's role reversal. Yeah, I mean, how has it been feeling?
I feel very much in my element. I feel that my creativity bears fruit. I feel that my challenges are easily overcome. I feel like I'm getting rest. I feel like I'm getting nourishment.
Yeah.
And that is a stark contrast from months prior. I really feel kind of in the zone. I feel like Michael Jackson with his tongue hanging out. I'm like Michael Jordan. You know, Jackson with his tongue out. Jordan, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
With his tongue hanging out. Fucking dunk.
Right. Yeah, so it's very interesting to think about the seventh moon, which is what we're talking about. Talking about the seventh moon, which is the monkey moon. And in this particular case, in the Wood Dragon year, we're talking about a water monkey moon. But in general, we can just talk about the qualities of the seventh moon, which are specifically about autumn. In the beginning of autumn, in what's called the ending of late summer. So there's a bit of a process when, if we're talking about it from the standpoint of yin and yang, right? And the sort of oscillation between yin and yang, you have this image of a very fresh, young yin, almost unnoticeable, but is essentially undermining, right? Is interjecting itself into this sort of authoritative presence of yang, right? So it's a kind of, it's very subtle, but it can show up in this kind of trickster ways where you get the rug pulled out. It's very annoying.
It's funny, you said young yin, and I thought like youngin.
Youngin?
Like Freudian.
Youngin? Oh,
okay. Yeah. Youngin? Is that, do people say that? Youngin? I know Freudian.
Freudian thing. Youngin?
Yeah. Oh, young, right?
Right. Oh,
Youngin.
Oh, Jungian.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right.
sorry.
We're already in it. Monkey. And that's the interesting thing, if we're looking as a continuation of goat, so goats are very interested in harmony. But that's a very principled, sort of situation, right? That everybody should be welcome, everything, like very strong principles that basically encourage this situation of harmony, where you have like resources distributed, everybody feels included and shared, things like that. Then you get the monkey, then your monkey, one of my favorite things, Ving used to say is like, in response to the goat, the monkey's like, that'll never happen. Yeah, okay. Sure. And for monkeys, it's about balance rather than harmony. But balance is not principled, it's contextual. So it's moment to moment, any given situation might be very different from the next.
And it doesn't always look harmonious.
Right. So there's so balance is not necessarily harmonious, but there is a kind of fluidity of exchange that's happening. So there's a lot of creativity goes in this. But when we're talking about it from a seasonal standpoint, it's a little bit like necessity is the mother of invention. So why is that? Well, because there is a kind of analogy or parallel between spring and fall, right? So the first moon of spring is a tiger moon. And then 6 months later is the first moon of autumn, which is monkey moon. So they're both somewhat chaotic because what they represent are these kinds of initiations of certain really major transitions, going from winter to spring, and then going, subsequently going from summer to fall. So what are the major differences? Well, it's going from yin to yang in the spring, and it's going from yang to yin. So the real, from the standpoint of the cosmology, the Tongshu, it's the first one in spring is considered way less dangerous than the one in the fall. And the reason for that is because yin doesn't really give a lot of trouble letting go.
If I may, that makes sense to movement practice, specifically like yoga, asana practice, my yoginis and Taoists, what's up. You're most prone for injury coming out of the pose. Pose. In powerlifting, you're most prone to injury when you let go of your weight.
Some oblique movement, and you're like, all of a sudden your back is out. And you
so
can't
on
do it.
Yang's descent, you're more prone
To injury.
than on Yang. So that makes sense.
Well, because yin is responsive. That's its nature, is to be responsive and to disperse. Right? So when yang is emerging, yin is responsive. There may be some kind of chaotic things, but what's available in that situation is growth, learning, right? Like easily available in the springtime. In fact, that's what you're encouraged to do, is kind of put it out there, see what sticks and what you can work with. So there is a corollary and an analogy in the fall, but it's like way more risky. Mostly because yang doesn't surrender. Not very easily. So like if you've had like a lot of like very vigorous energy, the tendency of yang is to become arrogant. And that is the major risk. If anybody's going to take anything away from this video, it's like be on the lookout for your arrogance, because that's what's going to get you. that's what's going to put you behind the 8 ball, is like this idea that we can continue. Like, no, we're good. Like you should probably rest, but I'm fine. And like, this is there's a word for this. It's called pretense. And like, what do monkeys do? They imagine. And like the primary source for imagination that comes out of this particular transition in the 7th moon is to have the pretense that you can't continue. So there's a very interesting the 7th moon is incredibly interesting from standpoint of the cosmology of the Tongshu. Chinese thought is very structured, right? Generally across the board, like very structured in the sense that they like creating systems that make sense, right? But even within, say, the 28 lunar mansions, there's a slick spot, so they include chaos in this kind of like magnificent structure, magnificent sense of rhythm, right? They include this place with like, okay, look out for that, because we don't know what's going to happen there. And so the 7th moon is like, the 7th moon is this kind of place in time where you're not really sure how it's going to go. Because why? Well, because you're actually involved. And this is the time of year in which your momentum for how you imagine your capacity for growth and expansion, manifestation, especially in the dragon field, is going to be so inflated, that when you get to the 7th moon, you're like, oh no, we're good. Like, let's just one more thing, 1 or 2 more projects, let's wrap it up, and then we can rest, right? And so we can have this kind of pretense approach, and that's what makes the 7th moon so interesting, is or eventful, and so out of the blue and potentially chaotic, is because you have this capacity. We can mess up our own stuff. Like there is the free will aspect in here that comes along and says, oh no, it's not time to quit yet. Let's keep going.
I like this perspective paralleled against the Journey West, the story of the Monkey King, because here we are in this volatile time, as you say, and it's up to the monkey to demonstrate self-restraint and discernment.
Right.
Because if he doesn't, that restraint is gonna come from an external source.
Right, right,
Right, so if we can't contain ourselves now, nature's gonna smack us.
right,
And in the monkey's case, like for us, it's just nature, right? It's the cycles of the seasons and chi. But for monkey, the external circumstance was that crown that the monk would recite the mudra to and would clamp down his head and restrict him that way.
right.
So it's like, you're not gonna calm down.
And it's like a
Circumstance-
shock collar.
Yeah, we're gonna put you in your place.
Right, right, right.
And so I take that as, this monkey moon is like, this is the time for us to practice self-restraint on our own.
For
accord.
sure, yeah, exactly. There's a tremendous opportunity
Mhm.
in this kind of free form situation. Like you can be, creativity, curiosity is encouraged. Like you can't just say, don't do anything, in the seventh moon. That's not really what's available, right? But how do we use creativity? How do we engage? What are we willing to consider limitations in this process? Or what is the role of our desire in this situation? And that's why the seventh moon is also considered the ghost moon. Is because our pretenses are inherited. Everything that we do and everything that we are has a precedent. So the seventh moon is no different.
Whoa, so seventh moon is ghost moon. Is that why this is Hungry Ghost Festival?
Yeah,
This
so it's-
weekend, Hungry Ghost Festival.
It's
Shout out
the
to
full
Hungry Ghosts.
moon. So the full moon of the seventh moon is when this sort of peak availability to the energy overall of the seventh moon. And we actually, in this particular seventh moon, we began the moon with a very ghostly day, and we're ending the moon with a very ghostly day. It's one of the 28 lunar indicators is the void, which has everything to do with out of the blue occurrences. Yes, right. So these kind of imperatives that we can't hear, but we're nonetheless subjected to. That great mystery, that for rational Westerners feels like a curse or something that why me, this is because in fact you are a tangle of precedents. Every embodiment and incarnation is a tangle of precedents. And in particular in the seventh moon, the ones that are activated are related to the unsettled day. So it's very dynamic cosmology to say that every seventh moon, if you start acting out and getting a little bit your imagination start running around, understand that imagination is precedent, and it's related to the ghost moon. It's related to the sort of imperatives, unsettled imperatives of the unsettled day.
She going for that. It's really a Tai Chi. Tai Chi is Qigong, but Qigong is not Tai Chi. Qigong now. It's like a circle is an oval, but an oval is a circle. Anyway, the Qigong for that is for this monkey and monkey related to ghosts and getaway ghosts.
Yeah.
So today's movement is Repulse the Monkey. It's a Tai Chi movement. But we're gonna do it as a Qigong. And so we're just gonna hold both hands out in front of us, just kind of have this natural, not bent, not straight, but soft, right? Kind of making a circular shape.
Okay, yeah.
And I have both of those arms in front of me in a kind of modest, gentle circle. And I'm going to let one fall by my side and let it rise behind me. I'm going to keep my eye on it the whole time. Then I'll bend my elbow, draw it close to my ear, turn forward, and then push.
Oh.
Right? Because usually, they kind of just have you drag it through, but consider there's no power. If I'm going to push like this, there's no power. So I'm going to want to come here, get in front of myself, then extend. So that's the power. Okay, and then as this one drops to the other side, that's when this hand returns back to neutral. Right? So bend that elbow, bring it close to your ear, turn forward and push. And this idea of rushing past the ear and extending forward, this is the idea of pushing away that pushing away those distracting thoughts, right? Pushing away the ghosts,
right?
In this instance,
those things that have your attention, right?
Yeah,
Kinds of things you imagine.
Then really easy, we'll just do one more on each side to get a rhythm with it. Makes sense to breathe in as you expand and open up the chest. Bend, turn, and exhale as you push through. Right, gentle hold, breathe in. Gentle hold till you're in position, and then exhale, push through. There you go. That is your Qigong for that.
Another suggestion, in terms of Qigong for that, talking about role reversal. I was studying this and I was like, I really need to bring this forward. Walk backwards. This is a time of recession, you know, like yin is basically, so there's been growth and expansion. Yang has been pushing yin out to its outer limits of manifestation. Now yin is taking that and pulling it back, right? So it's undermining all the sort of energy and expansion that Yang has been putting out. It's like, oh, there's no more support for that. So it just sort of takes the ground out from underneath it. And so in some of Ming's lectures, he would around this time he would talk about that. Yeah, all your energy and all your injury comes from your forward movement. Now time to start walking backwards.
See, I like that. When I trained in Shanghai, shout out to Ming, my Imperial Bagua teacher, another Ming. He would make fun of all the other people that practice in the park. And there were only a handful of masters that had his respect. One was this lady who would bear crawl through the whole park. It was like, that's real cool. I don't know bear crawl. So she was one. There was another guy who had a little sugar in his tank, you know, kind of sweet. But he would run and be really light and nimble and always be on the tips of his toes. So my teacher would be like, watch out for that guy too. And then the one that was odd but got his respect was this old lady who walked the entire park backwards. And wouldn't you know, just today we're at the Oakland Zoo, shout out Oakland Zoo. My wife is getting winded walking up this hill, pushing the cart. So I was like, honey, I'll get the cart. Try walking backwards up the hill. She was like, oh my God, my knees don't hurt, my hips are fine.
Yeah, because you're engaging the backside of the yin part of your body.
Yeah.
That's your yang yin. So like you want to engage the yin. So bathing practice is very important, especially scrubbing, dry brushing, bucket bathing. But one of the things in terms of Qigong practice or just movement, you know, is like get on your porch, go out to the park, just walk backwards. And pay attention to your experience, see what comes up. Like we've been pushing forward so much, you know, like I think people forget, I mean, obviously we're in a yang worshiping, sun worshiping society, right? So nobody pays attention to how much we do, you know, like there's no sense of reward, like a recap, you know. So the first harvest of any particular year is reconsideration.
Speaking of reconsiderations, there's another Qigong for that this time of year. And speaking of yang, and you know, it came to mind with what you just shared, but is letting the sun shine where the sun don't shine. Yeah. This time of year and yang's decline, when it's still, you got that last tail end of summer heat. Let the sun shine where the sun don't shine.
Face south.
Yeah, face south. Yeah. Like bend down, touch your elbows to your toes, and spread your cheeks and let the sun shine where the sun don't shine. Yeah, my baboon ass, my red baboon ass. Just for Monkey Moon.
Yeah. Don't do it in the rooster. You get in trouble.
You might get wind invasion.
Yeah. Big time.
Okay, are we in a good spot for good luck, bad luck, who knows?
Yeah. Who's getting good luck in a Monkey Moon? Okay,
We'll start with monkey, dragon, rat, right?
we can do that. I'd say the ones who are at most disadvantaged are the domestics. Because they're very interested in stability. You know, like so your pigs,
Rabbit, pig.
and goat.
Yeah.
Because the goat, maybe not so ready to let go of harmony. I thought we agreed, you know? And the monkey's like, you know, basically switching it up on him. Yeah, we did agree last week, but it's different. It's a new week. It's a new week now. Welcome to new week. Wait. So like, goats are pretty much dragging the feet. Wait. So, and similar for, definitely for rabbits, you know, sudden changes and pivots and things like that. Definitely spook for rabbit. And pigs generally pretty flexible, but it just kind of depends on their situation. If they get a little too complacent or comfortable in late summer, like with the monkey, could kind of shake it out, put in a little bit. The trine of the rat, the monkey, and the dragon are the most like sort of empowered, if you will, like because even though like the pig, the rat is going to have some adjustments to make. They're very fond of those adjustments, right? So they feel empowered to make adjustments. So this moon, they would be like a little bit more empowered to make adjustments. They can trust their kind of, I guess, for lack of a better word, like instincts or even intuition, you know, about how they should move. So, and that would make them a little bit more relaxed. Dragons, you know, they barely notice anything, but this would be their moon to kind of make the most of all the opportunities that are available. Because essentially, if we're looking at a dragon year as like littering out all the possibilities of the universe, you know, like who can keep track of any of them? Like very few. But dragons is obviously one of them. So in this particular moon, it depends on their, you know, their own particular personal habitual flexibility. You know, like sometimes, for instance, fire dragons can get a little tense, uptight. Like they have ideas about how things should be, and so that can kind of prevent them from seeing a bigger picture. But it's not really serious business. Like dragons are pretty empowered at this time, as well as the monkeys. Like, they kind of feel at home. It's just a question of like whatever is kind of self-imposed boundaries they feel comfortable playing with. So it can kind of go either way. If you're like a really young monkey trying to get your footing about like how you want to conduct yourself in the world, you may. Most monkeys actually pretty comfortable with like hard lessons because they're like, oh, well, now I know what I can do. Like, I couldn't do that, but I will be able to once I get, you know, so that like monkey, what makes monkeys powerful is they're not afraid of failure. In fact, they're actually pretty into it. It can be a little lesson. Like they want to see like,
Fail forward.
how bad it can mess up because it gives them a kind of point of reference.
Shout out ray gun.
And it keeps them engaged, right? Like you can't make it boring, but it has to be interesting. Let's raise the stakes like that. You know, let me do that exercise over like, you know, of a ravine. Because then I'll actually do it really well. But if you just ask me to do it in the courtyard, I'm gonna fall. You know, like it's like I'm
Not
bored.
challenged.
Yeah. So this is gonna be a time of year where they're either gonna enjoy the limits that they're comfortable with, or they're gonna test the limits and find out how bad they can fail. Like, and either one is totally fine. They're totally cool with either way. Roosters, on the other hand, if we're looking at the rooster, snake, and ox, roosters are just about, they're getting excited. They should be getting excited because they're about to enter into a frame of time where things are going to start making more sense for them because now is the time to edit and develop and demonstrating intelligence. Right now, it's still a little chaotic, but what's kind of being initiated is, wait, something needs to change it. And like they're getting that sense right now. Because it is the first moon of autumn, and roosters are one of the autumnal signs. So they're getting kind of stimulated. They're feeling that kind of getting ready to move on something. And so they shouldn't be too aggressive about it. Let it come to them. Is generally what I would say a rooster. You know, and oxes and snakes, not really noticing a whole lot. You know, like ox for sure, like isn't really noticing. Chaos to them is just sort of a misunderstanding. Like go figure it out, and let me know when you're ready, you know, like, that, they'll be more capable next to me, and then the snakes are just, it's just another evidence of the sort of general messiness of the universe kind of thing. What's the last one? A dog, a horse, and tiger. You definitely chill out. Like, tiger in particular is the most vulnerable, but don't overlook the horse, because they could be, especially in a dragon year, right, where they are already kind of warned not to try to run so fast that you think you can fly. And the monkey moon might be one of those times, like talking about coming down off of young injury. Injury is always the biggest issue for persons, is injury, because if they can't work and they can't do things, then that's big trouble for them. Makes it really hard, their life hard. So I would imagine that a lot of horses, especially if they're very physically active, have a physically active job, they've either gotten sick or they have gotten injured. And even just, and what I would say to that is, like, pay attention to the minor injury, like actually rehab it and take your time with it, you know. The horse and the tiger should be very careful about, like, their stimulant intake at this time. I mean, everybody should, but they're the most vulnerable to developing.
No more cocaine.
Yeah,
Take it easy.
like very stimulative. The use of stimulants in the 7th moon is like hazardous. So it's a really good idea to, like, welcome yin, because essentially what we're doing, what we can do with misconduct is that we can inhibit yin coming back. And that the only thing that does is create problems for us, not for yin, because you can't stop yin. But if you want to welcome yin,
You just blew my.
you gotta welcome yin.
So no meth this month, because you might push away.
Become a ghost. I mean, it's very interesting to think about, like, I think a really powerful conversation to have in the 7th moon, especially now, is what is a ghost and how do you become a ghost? Now, in this cosmology, the most meaningful events of any life is birth and death. It's not the space in between. The space in between informs birth and death. But birth and death are actually the main event for everything. So, what is ghost? How do you get to a place in one's life where the way you lived your life actually makes you available to become a ghost? And I'm definitely working directly with Ming's material on this to say, and I just want to honor Brother Ming for this, but it's a really important teaching to talk about, like, how does one become a ghost? And one becomes a ghost when they don't really complete, they just end. So when we end at the end of our our embodiment, our lives, and don't complete, then we have loose thread. We have the karmic kind of condition. And if it's not, depending on the tradition you're talking about, but if it's not resolved in bardo experience, then we sort of linger, or something lingers, like all the different things in the compounds of our compound situation kind of unravel, become undone. And the thing that's still attached to this becomes like ghost, like energy kind of lingers. And that's what's meant by ghost, is like incomplete intention and energy. So when we have these periods of time in our life, if we remember that, like, the space between birth and death actually not as important as birth and death. Like, this is the time of year to recognize, like, how am I just kind of never cleaning off the desk? Am I just continuing to run a hamster wheel over and over? Like, do I never feel done? Like, what would done feel like? Like, this is a very personal question. Very personal question. Like, no one can tell you what that feels like. It's only to say that in this particular tradition, it's really important to find that place where you actually feel, I'm done. Good. And that's what this seventh moon invites, is a reflection on the process. And how do you know? Because you don't feel it. You know, it's like, I'm so anxious right now. Like, why am I so anxious? Like, something's not done. Then I think that, oh no, you know, like, and how much will nature kind of prompt trickster energy to get you to, like, what's the whole point? I want to feel your attachments to me. Let me poke at you and then find out, oh, you really like that, you know, right? Like, that's what monkeys in your life do. They get you ticked off and they go, aha, there you are, right? Like, how much of our identities are wrapped around these attachments. Really profound teaching, and that's available every seventh moon, not just with your monkey friends, but like with, but with in the energy of the seventh moon is to have an opportunity to confront those things in our experience. And so the wisdom teaching of this tradition would be say, if you do that enough, right, then this is very enjoyable. And then you can look at the absurdity of all the different attachments, and you can actually have some fun and be playful, and you know, be in a place of reconsideration. And actually, there is a chance to think outside the box, and there is a chance to really help other people kind of deal with whatever entanglement they. So this isn't like just a morbid time. It's only morbid if you're really sad that someone knows. Are you? You know, are you like, that's your bias? There you are. That's where you're at. That's where you've stopped. You're not continuing. Welcome in and invite the next step, which is as we go into Rooster, really clarifying and bringing into like deep focus, like the empowerment that we have with Yah, right? And how we can preserve that energy into the winter. Right? So that if you don't spend that time in the kind of fermentation, and reflection, and contemplation, and transformation, you don't do that alchemy, your own trying to build, but that's the only thing you know how to do, build, and not refine, then you are like 1000% setting yourself up to be a ghost, because like you have all this material that you never really found out why does it matter to you, like what is it that's so potent about it. Because having the reconsideration, that means you're returned to spring. That means you get to go back to feel inspired again. How can you feel inspired again if you don't really take into hand what you've done?
So this sounds to me like the perfect segue to our 28 flavors of slow, because this new flavor of slow is don't just go, it's gonna be a ghost.
It's walk backwards. The new flavor of slow
Is actually retreat.
Is recession.
Mhm.
Is to pull back. Is to actually walk backwards. Not because you're like, you know, not because you're trying to undo things, but it's like take a wide angle lens where, oh, I totally forgot about that one thing, you know, like that I really was super hot on in March. I completely forgot about it. Where did it go? You know, and like, and then you kind of track it down, and then you see its relationship to the other things you were, oh, I really got distracted. Man, my sleep pattern has been terrible. You know, like you get to really unpack your behavior over the summer months, and you get to edit, you know, because very few things harvest. When we're talking about harvest, and that's where we are. That's where it's in the beginning process of harvest. Very few things are just immediately stored, and you harvest, and then you work with it to the point where then you can store it safely. If you want to store things safely, but in order to do that, you have to have some kind of you have to have some sort of like time with it, like because you're going to get, it's like fermentation. It's kind of like taking things and drying it out, so then you can store it so it doesn't rot. You know, so if you can think of an agricultural standpoint, it's like you're harvesting flowers. If you just put them in a cabinet, they're all gonna turn into goop. You know, like can't do nothing with it. You have to kind of process it. I mean, obviously, historically speaking, Chinese are masters at this kind of fermentation and drying and rehydrating and then doing all these multiple step processes where you like invent soybean oil, like who thought this process that it's just so complicated? Like how did you even get started? Like to get to this place where you can make out of this plant, you make this like dressing.
Oh yeah,
Like,
crazy. I see
what's that
that
all about?
how they make dyes,
Dyes,
or even
yeah.
how indigenous cultures make medicines. It's like, how do I know to take this bark from that tree, this vine, from this other tree?
In this season, like not all the time, but now, like under this moon, like so. I think in the West, because we're so materialistic, we dismiss a lot of this as superstition. But it's superstition is bogus, like as a concept, absolutely bogus. It's basically dismissing a set of relationships and a sense of relatedness of human beings to their environment. So it's like it has to be treated like with prejudice at this time, like to really reclaim what the actual wisdom in that human beings are demonstrating, what the value of it is. You have to know like where they're coming from when they speak, what kind of the language itself tells you, like the word for this bark, actually contains the root for my stomach, and that's what I know what a relationship is. But if I refer to it by some Latin name, I miss what it's for. It's for me to drink in this particular way to ease my bellyache, right? So this is this is all goes off on we going off on all these different tangents, but they all relate to this time, which is this kind of transformative, cultivation. But it's inward. It has to go inward. But it's constantly looking at the effects of things and their effect and the experience we have with them, how they interconnect with things. You only get that if you stop and like understand that things are pulling inward. It's a very dynamic time. It's like easily it's dynamic as spring, but like we're not going out to acquire anymore. We're conserving and working with the energies that are in house. Things that we've already harvested. And like we're distilling, bringing things into the essence, and that kind of essence behavior is really going to be key, in the next minute. Right now, it's foolishness that's happening, but that's it's all related to the arrogance and calling it out, in this kind of like grand humor, So there's all these rituals in terms of like calling out Young's arrogance, like poking at it, making fun of it, getting it to like finally retire and accept and surrender, like so important, because if you don't, then this sort of authoritative model of Yang is very effective in May, June, time, even July a little bit. It becomes brittle and self-destructive and mean. It becomes very, very intense. So that's all available. Like when you're talking about like volatile emotions, everybody's sort of pins in like emotional landmines everywhere, and that's definitely a sign of a kind of depletion, the undermining of Yang and the discomfort that comes with the incapacity, the unwillingness to welcome beginning and actually slow down, like drop the expectations, all the imperatives. Everything that stresses you out starts with an imperative. So let's poke at it. Let's poke at it, and like let's identify and be like, oh, there you are, and like take it and make fun of it and dress it down and get it to like relax, just relax. Not saying go away, like don't have to get rid of your ego like to participate. You just have to know that it's there. Oh, I'm being kind of funny right now. Like, yeah. Everybody's allowed at this time. Everybody's allowed to be funny. Kind of weirdo. So, just to finish the point, dogs can do well at helping people feel safe. And so, but it should be kind of small circle. So, I think dogs should make fun of, like, make friends with rabbits, like, keep them safe. And then tigers are just like, they're being triggered at every step. So they should, they're being constantly triggered. So it's very good idea for tigers to be in like gone. Like I have a tiger friend. She has a return. Or like, you know, just they should be in places very, 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 very safe. Don't think about starting anything. You know, just go ahead and accept defeat. Because it'll get better, you know. But
It's true.
if you accept defeat now, then you can start dialogue with yin. Because the yin is so much richness. It comes with it, like amazing levels of abundance. But you have to stop and smell the roses or appreciate the situation.
Look at that.
Like what you got.
Yeah, because otherwise you prolong the act.
Right. You just make it worse.
Okay.
For the 24 flavors of flow, this time would be
Walk backwards.
Walk backwards.
What would Ming be doing right now?
Probably teaching a class on fermentation. Something like that.
So
Yeah, like on fermentation. What do you think?
yeah, he'd definitely be in his lecture series now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like prime teaching time.
Right. This is prime teaching time. Another point about autumn. This is like very good time. I'm excited about this person. It's like it's when you go into your home spaces, like this is a good time to start a class. Especially in the wood dragon year. Like it's a very good time to not learn something new because you're trying to acquire skills, you know, or like be better. Just follow your imagination. Like paint, you know, or something sort of very tangential.
Yeah. Especially as we wind down into winter. It's like tap into those creativity.
Yeah,
that-
like right. So how am I going to beautify my space?
Invite me over.
You know, like so that it's a good time to learn. That's like back to school. And it's time to go back to school and like
Sure.
understand that I have responsibilities and maintaining, you know, the sanctity of the home space because that's where we're going. We're heading home. So all this kind of expansion and growth, and we can lay that on the back burner. And not people think about that, it's like over. So we have to kind of reel it in and refine, you know, what's important to us. But part of that process can be really enjoyable. Right? You know, it's like I'm gonna learn how to bake, you know, and just I'm gonna practice baking, you know, and bringing people food, just hanging out, you know.
I want to practice pickling.
Pickling's a good one.
It's about pickling.
Yeah. So I think that's a big part of kind of things what Ming would be doing right now, is embracing that kind of teaching or learning, you know, lecturing, that kind of edification, not like acquisition, but just edification, simple enjoyment.
We only had one question this month, and it was related to the Hungry Ghost Festival. And so just how do we celebrate that? How do we keep the hungry ghosts at bay? That was pretty much the only question that I got this month. Shout out to our viewers. You guys can submit your questions and we'll answer them.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Shit.
How do we celebrate?
If I remember, it was like cook a pot of rice with 1 grain in the dark corner.
Food offerings
Mhm.
are good. You know, it there are layers to this. Like my ultimate answer would just say be creative. Be creative. Like because here's the thing, like most of us not Asian. Not Asian. I don't have those inroads. Like I don't have
Caucasian?
Caucasian. And like, so I don't have those things available to me, like somebody who's living near Chinatown, you know, like currently today, apparently like big Hungry Ghost Festival
Going on right now.
going on right now. Super amazing, like doing, you know, because they do like parades and it's similar in some other indigenous societies that have like big masks and like all
Maybe
these
Dia de los Muertos or something.
yeah, like just bringing out all the spirits so they can see themselves. And then we kind of like work to kind of take that energy home. If you're having cathartic experiences, for instance, it can be actually you're joining this river of resolution. Because the whole point is that as human beings with free will, not a ghost at this point, although there's a lot of them out there, but if you have some capacity to be self-reflective on your experience, the assumption in the cosmology of Feng Shui is that you have a responsibility to for those who. So if you have the capacity to really self-reflect on your experience, do not take that for granted. Like it's actually the cornerstone of all religious practice and all spiritual practice, especially in Asian traditions, has this at its core. In fact, in the Confucian society, you're sort of indebted, to the ancestors. Most likely, you have a series of things you're supposed to complete, and you're supposed to have them done by like 60, 64, and if you can complete those things, then you're human. And so your humanness is actually determined by your contribution.
Wow.
Right. And an understanding that like I am part of a series of precedents. I am part of a pattern of perseverance, just like nature, which is a part of a pattern of perseverance. The things that we enjoy right now didn't come ex nihilo, out of nothing. That tree over there came from a seed from this other tree, and like so there's a continuance. This is the nature of Earth itself, is this spirit of perseverance that has everything to do with the continuity of this.
I love this conversation because Ming used to always throw that question out in the context of medicine. Like, what's a human? Right? What's medicine? What's it for?
Yeah.
Right? It's to heal a human, but what's a human?
It's a human.
And so I love when we would talk about a human is a mixed plate. A human is a collaboration. You're, as much as you are this morning's breakfast, as you are in your 5-year-old experience.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I really like that take, but you just being only the second time with a humanist contribution. And because our school's values show up, shut up, add value. It's the way of saints. And
yeah, which is so weird that the Western society makes that a saintly behavior. What does that mean? That alienates you from somebody else, right? So like, right? So everybody can be Mother Teresa. So you're automatically on another level, like way down here. And so this, from a Confucian standpoint, is a recipe for hypocrisy. Because if I'm constantly, and this goes back to the conversation about hungry ghosts, is that I'm constantly in a situation where I'm looking for a magic bullet to absolve me of my misconduct, I will never find it. And I'm guaranteed to become a ghost.
Damn, shout out Bodhidharma, merit for sake of merit leads to no merit.
So,
bam.
Right. So, so we have this situation that if we're constantly looking for something to absolve us, then we fail. But if we're willing to be like, like then I have my experience in hand. I'm able to take myself in hand. Wow. And this is the whole basis of the Confucian model, is self-reflection. This self-cultivation bit is something that's actually inherent to being human and should be treasured and cultivated. It's not like something to be thought less of because somehow it's not related to God. It gets very complicated if you have a stratification model cosmology where you have a creator and something that they created that's flawed. And you just get off on these tangents and you're not in your own experience. And Ming from Lao Tzu de Longchenpa was only encouraging us to be in our experience. And so the calendar is the same. How are we in that?
That's a t-shirt from Lao Tzu de Longchenpa. It's like
where are you? And like that's really the main question. What is it? What are you? Like what are you? And like it is a collaborative, so when you think about like sometimes I imagine myself, what would it be like? Would I be able to if you drop me into the middle of 1910 New York, would I actually be able to breathe that air? I don't know.
Yeah, all the coal in the air.
Just the atmosphere. Would that atmosphere, not having grown up in that atmosphere, would I be able to breathe it? Or would I develop a condition immediately? Would it be like Mars or standing on Jupiter? Would I just be crushed by the gravity of what's available. Or conversely, you take somebody from 1700s and bring them to today, they'd immediately go into like some kind of psychotic shock, like because they're not from this time. So how much is of our identity as human beings is actually tied to this gradual process that we've had of immersion
Context,
from,
yeah.
from like a little something that didn't know how to, eat its own food to like, only surviving on instinct and now drinking tea and using mobile phone. Like we've been just kind of like, lobsters in a pot and just kind of gradually have the heat turned up until we're a certain kind of being. What makes you a human being now, the same human being, you have no idea. You have no idea. It's all an assumption. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But like part of the conceptual tradition is to hold these questions. And so going back to honoring, what is it like to honor the dead? You tell me, like that would be, if you have an appetite for understanding it. The idea is right now, especially because we don't have a lot of cultural practices around it, what would you suggest? And my suggestion is always to clients, like, start an ancestor altar. Really good. Well, clear a space, get some photos, like figure out like what is offering, how to burn incense. What does that mean? Do I have the space for it? Like, it only matters what you have in your heart. only thing that matters. So if you want like special kind of incense because it reminds you of your grandmother, perfect. Like that's actually, you want to go for that kind of really close in kind of experience. Close in.
And to that point, I'll often get asked about incense practice. I'm like, bake some cookies.
Right.
Right. And that's something that brings a memory. That's something that opens the heart. That's something that connects you with your ancestors.
Yeah.
Take cookies.
Or if your grandfather smoked cigars, burn some tobacco. Like it really, it's only, especially in a monkey moon, we're talking about balance is something that's contextual. It's always contextual, right? So the context of just reflecting on your life, like there's no, this practice and tradition doesn't provide you a pathway to absolution or revelation. That's not available. What it is providing is a pathway of just being in one experience. Like that's the only priority, from the standpoint of this particular cosmology. And everything else takes care of itself. Like that's one of my favorite quotes of Ming is, you can never catch the Tao doing anything. So what does that mean? Like, okay, well, it could mean lots of things. But one of the things it means is that like, you don't require wisdom. Wisdom just happens and like it washes over you and you have an experience and then you might spend the rest of your life trying to make sense of it. Like, okay, welcome to the human race. Like that's kind of actually how it goes.
Bad joke alert when he said that you'll never catch the Tao doing anything. I was like, wow, the Tao's wife must be just pissed.
Man, trying to track that dude down constantly.
You're never doing anything. Where is this?
And then he just says, but nothing is left undone.
Everything's already resolved.
Everything's already done. Why would I need to do anything?
Or like Tao's wife saying, Tao's.
The dishes are done.
That's not my name. That is not the eternal name.
Which Tao are you speaking to? Smack upside the head.
So I think this is a wonderful point. We did our segments. We did what kind of slow. We did what would Ming do. We did good luck, bad luck. Who knows? We did just Qigong for that. Talked about monkeys. We talked about ghosts. Hexagram. Break us off.
Oh crap! I'm trying to remember the one that's. No, that's the one. There's one. Oh, okay. We could just go with that. Diminished 41. 41. That's what's active right now. And it tells a story of sacrifice, but like a ritual sacrifice. So I'm honoring by offering. Yeah, honoring by offering. And yes, I know, like if I if I want to be rad about it, I made X number of resources, I give 10% back. It's like tithing, right? Like the Christians do tithing. That's what's considered diminished. That's a kind of a ritual that diminished. hexagram 41, and it's meant to like kind of accept loss, accept sacrifice as a way of initiating, one's relationship to yin, and to welcome yin. So you have to welcome yin. So usually welcoming yin, especially around this time, is accepting this kind of recession bit and to kind of scale back, take the hit, take the loss, be good with the loss, whatever loss it is. And the loss might only, most of the time for us anyway, it's just losing your expectation. I was supposed to get, I can't get it. And then getting stressed out about what you can't get that you really wanted. Like, yeah, offer that. Offer that. Make that offering. Because your capacity as a thinking, reading human being that can consider their own behavior in a process of self-reflection has distinct advantages against ghosts who's just like, why can't I have it? So they're a broken record. Right? And so when you have and join with them in that kind of broken record moment, and you're really feeling that broken record moment, and then you go, you know what? It's okay. Mm-hmm. That ghost goes, it is. And then their whole trajectory changes. Yeah, their whole trajectory changes. They turn the page, go someplace else, whatever, you don't know. But like in that moment, all you do know is your responsibility to be in your experience and to accept the diminishment and to just turn the page. Because it's not just you, especially if you're feeling strong, which they would be in a water monkey moon that's kind of in this grievance place. It's like,
I like that take because it's really easy in our culture to say, bust that ghost and I eradicate you and I rebuke you to hell, Satan, and cast out the demon.
Right.
Why not resolve and they'll dissipate on their own accord?
Yeah.
It's like, why does it have to be this battle?
Yeah.
Because what we resist persists and what we fight fights back. And so help them reach the promised land.
This is a yin medicine, right? The yang medicine, which is theistic, it's basically presupposes a creator God that makes everything right. Something has to win.
Yeah.
Right? Something always has to win if you have a creator that's perfect and makes everything correct. If there's something wrong, it has to be put right, and something has to win. And that can be evil that wins or good that wins. Then you have all these, and then it just kind of, it's like a Mandelbrot, just kind of makes all these different assumptions.
10,000 things.
10,000 things. But if you have a yin medicine, a yin-based medicine, because it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, ghosts are not strong. Even demons, not strong. They're not strong. They're actually, there is no king. One of my favorite, is it Ming or was it Gu Wei Ming? Gu Wei Ming, I went to a lecture one time when I was really young. It's like when I first started having my mind kind of broken open. I was like 19 years old and I was at UCSD. Yeah, UCSD. And my teacher at the time was like, there's this person that's coming to speak. You need to go listen. There. So I went there and it was this Confucian philosopher, the premier Confucian philosopher of our age. Like it's generally considered Confucius, Mencius, Juzi, right? Du Weiming. And Du Weiming is alive. And he's been alive for this little bit. And he's like put all these books and he's taught all these really amazing people who are also writing books and like really profound Neo-Confucian philosopher. And I remember where I was in this auditorium listening to him speak. And because we were in San Diego, everybody's like, what about the devil? And Du Weiming was so graceful. And he just kind of politely explained there is no concept of evil in Confucian. Well,
just appropriate, inappropriate.
Yeah, there is no concept of like what Ming would call king super evil. It's somehow equivalent to, the king super good.
Another great T-shirt.
King super evil. King super evil. Great band.
Excellent.
So
I tell you what.
that's where it's very hard to let go.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard, even if you're agnostic, atheist, like it's like baked into our language, about like meeting obstruction, like in how we talk about obstruction. Like, it's usually something holding us back.
Okay.
You know, like, spoiler alert, it's you. And it's everything that, it's all your precedents, your intent. And some of those are faded and some of those are cultivated and or both in the same, yeah. So it's not, and there's no judgment. There's no way to do this wrong. I hate to tell you, there's no way to do, that's what makes it so amazing. That's why you keep coming back.
Oh, it's funny.
It's because there's so many things to explore. We keep, you know, we keep cycling through because there is no way of doing it wrong. It's just what's got your attention and what brings you back.
It's true. Yeah. Wish if we used to say that there's 10,000 ways to do any one thing. Some are just more efficient.
Yeah. And some offer resolution where we feel complete. That would be the kind of question of the teaching for this time. Is that like, because we're going into yin now, and that's, you know, we're only halfway through, mostly a little bit more than halfway through the whole year.
Okay.
So we can't think of just like what's amazing about the wood dragon in spring and summer. Now it's the fall and winter, and what kind of gets, you know, drawn out.
Dragon tail.
Dragons. The belly, right? The belly is where we're at right now, going into intestines.
The
Lower
booty.
half.
Dragon
Booty.
booty. Shout out dragon ass. Well, speaking of yin and descending into yin, it feels like this has gone over and out.
Oh, yeah, we've been talking. The T on that call.
It's that rock tea. Let's see. Peace, y'all.